Okay.
And then for now, I'll drag it over the dumpster afterwards.
It goes with everything.
Okay, guys.
I don't know how to
As you're,
describe it,
you
but
can listen. So I'm going to introduce you to Stefan. He's going to give us like a 20-minute presentation or so about.
so we can see.
Can we give Cassie some attention, please? We're getting started. Donna,
We're
we're
just
getting started.
we're just getting.
I just want to get one of these real fast.
Okay. So Stefan's going to come out here and give us about a 20-minute presentation. Just kind of give us some information on beekeeping, just some general, knowledge, and if we're going to move forward with that, and just equipment, types of bees, and then afterwards, if we have some questions, probably we can pull to the side or talk about it after the meeting's over specifically. So if you can hold the questions to the end, and then you can sign up somewhere, and maybe we can get a Facebook going on that. And I met him through the Extension Center of Seminole County. He's kind of like master gardener, and here and lives in Florida now, so he's learning about Florida landscaping, and he's a gardener too. And he actually is part of a church that has a similar setup as what we do. The church property has a community garden, so a lot like this with 20 plots or so. So it's kind of cool, and he basically went through the whole process of doing research about his church and the property, and having bees and bee hives on the property. So I happened to call him, and voila, I got lucky. So he's going to share with us all his information that he's learned. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I did ask a tomato question. I know you did.
Was she the one that wanted to plant in June? That was her.
My tomatoes are dying, and I don't know why. It's Florida. And so, my name is Stefan Herzog. I'm a master gardener with Seminole County Extension Services. And y'all are like right on the border. And not that they compete, but Orange County and Seminole County both have very similar resources available to you in your gardens and your communities. So I would encourage you, as you grow your community garden here, and you get interested in maybe beekeeping, that you engage with those folks, because they're invaluable resources. And I won't say I'm invaluable, but I know a little bit. I'm a little bit above what you would call entry-level beekeeping. I grew up around bees. We had about 4 or 5 hives at home in Virginia, and then I was in the military for a while, and ended up here in Florida. And over the past couple of years, I've always had that kind of desire, but no real opportunity. And then last November, a neighbor of mine moved away. He asked me to watch his house. I watched his house. I was doing some stuff around there, and I noticed a beehive that needed a home, living in a trash can. So I waited until the temperatures dropped to about 40 degrees. I threw a tarp over it, dragged it over to my property, and about in May, I tried to move them from the trash can into a legitimate hive. And I say try because it wasn't successful. So that's one of the things I want to let you guys know. They are creatures created by God. They do what they want to do, but they are amazing. And that's one of the things that attracted me to them. So I have a couple of factoids here, and also, if y'all want, I have an electronic version of this. So I asked Cassandra if you want, just fill out your email address or whatever, and I will forward you any information. I would like to get the discussion going, and we literally had a meeting yesterday evening at the Seminole County office trying to get something similar to what Orange County is going with the Orange Blossom Beekeepers Association up in Seminole County.
Oh, great.
Because I want to be part of the Orange County thing. The problem is it takes me 75 to 80 minutes to get down there for a 1-hour meeting, and then I got to drive home. And but there's a lot of interested people here in the county. There were 67 people attending last night.
Oh, wow.
And it was just kind of like, here's who we are, here's what we're trying to do. So we're hoping at the grassroots level to get kind of interest going. And it's not from personal gain, but it's from, it sounds weird, but to help the bees. And I'll give you some factoids here. So, honeybee factoids. You can find these online at the Wikipedias or at UF. A hive of bees flies over 55,000 miles to produce a pound of honey. Bees tap over 2 million flowers to get a pound of honey. An average worker produces 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey in her lifetime, and her lifetime is about 42 days. And 1 ounce of honey would provide enough energy for that bee to fly around the world at one time. Okay, all right. So that's just a couple of the things that are so amazing about bees and what gets me excited about them, other than they're just really cool. And there's some other ones on here too. Some of the myths, you might have experienced it, you talk to people in your church and your garden about putting bees in your garden. They're like, well, what about the African bees? Aren't they mean? Bees have been appreciated by humans for thousands of years. The Egyptians first domesticated them about 3,500 years ago. We could read about them in the Bible. Samson had bees in the lion's carcass and all this kind of good stuff. But some of the other things, even here in North America, so some of the lore that I wasn't even aware of. Up in Appalachia, if a bee flies into your house, it means someone's going to visit. If a bee lands on your hand, money is coming your way. And in Celtic mythology, they thought that bees were they communicated between life here and life in the afterworld. And in some of the myths, our killer bees had invaded Florida. All right, and I have a little story about those killer bees, because the hive I moved from that trash can to the commercial hive was what they call hot. So when we took them out of there, they were not happy. And a normal European bee will follow you maybe from here to that car. These things followed us from like here to 100 meters down the property. And so I was talking, and this guy's a master beekeeper. He came from the University of Florida. And I said, his name is Phil. I said, Phil, what's up? He goes, I've never experienced this far north in Florida. They're probably hybridized. I said, well, I don't want to kill these bees. I mean, they're not in danger, but they're in danger of going away, and I want to keep them. He goes, well, we can retire the queen. And that's where we find the queen in the hive, and you retire her, switch her, and the bees will actually produce another queen. But he actually brought me a queen that was a certified European honeybee queen. And I'll pass you some pictures, a picture, and these will be on the slide presentation. But you'll see my hands there. That was taken yesterday. And on the landing board there are bees. And that's my hand right next to the bee. They landed on my hand and they crawled around.
Money's coming your way.
Exactly, right? The problem is I only have like 2,000 bees as a young hive. So I'll take $2,000.
The trash can hive by substituting the new queen.
I tried, but what happened? They got invaded. They got invaded by small hive beetles. So there are pests here in Florida, which is why a lot of the hives are failing, and which is why the state of Florida and even the White House, one of the quotes here, President Obama passed a law that's going to help, hopefully, sustain the bees here in North America, because they contribute $27 million indirectly to or directly to the Florida economy through sales of honey and beekeeping supplies and things like that. And about, I can't remember the exact number, I have it later on in my presentation, but about, I think, $17 billion to the overall national economy, because 30% of all the produce that we eat, those watermelons, those honeydew and peaches, 100% of the almonds grown in California, all pollinated by the European honeybee. And push comes to shove, people will say, well, they're not native, because on some of those websites you'll see on Facebook, they have like the Native Plant Society and stuff. They're like, well, we don't want invasives. Well, European honeybees are invasive. They weren't here until the 1600s. They're called the white man's fly, because the settlers brought them over from Europe as they were settling the U.S. But as a result, we have all these crops that we can plant and get pollinated. So, in the state of Florida ranks number 4 in the world for honey production. China's number 1.
Wow.
Fourth in the world. China's number 1. Uruguay is number 3, which I thought was interesting, and I can't remember. I'm sorry?
New Zealand is probably.
No, it wasn't New Zealand. I think it's just because of the size of the country. And when you're dealing with tens of millions versus a million people. But it's a significant thing. And when Cass called me about the bees, I was so excited, because it's not just about the thrill of going in there and looking how the bees manage their own hives and how they grow, but it's understanding that literally every plant out here is going to be visited by a honeybee. In my hive, which is about 5 miles as a crow flies away from here, pollinates everything within a 3-mile radius of my hive. So we have a hive here and we have a hive at my house. Those bees are overlapping, and they're helping to pollinate community gardens and people's gardens just in general. So that's kind of a thing. I've talked with my neighbors. You know, some people say, "Well, aren't your neighbors going to get upset?" I don't want to say they were upset. They were more concerned about my safety because they saw me out there. And first thing I did when I first got going, and this, I went home and I asked my dad, "Hey, Dad, you haven't kept bees in a while." He lives in North Carolina now. He's like, "Yeah, I'll give you my bee suit." So I had my bee suit, so it's pure white, with a big veil on, I'm wandering around in my yard with a smoker, and these people are like, "What on earth is crazy man doing?" I live in a homeowners association.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, "Oh, it is bees. Oh, okay, it is bees." And I'm just gonna jump in. I'm gonna do more ad hoc. I apologize. I had more of a plan.
You're good.
But
You're doing good.
let's see. I want to show you. It's black and white. The top picture is the sidewalk view from my house, and the back is the neighbor's view. That's what they see of my apiary or beehive. Let me know if you can see anything. Right? So it's totally unobtrusive, and the state is really cool because they require things, but they also give you certain caveats or wiggle room. So I don't have a gated yard, but I put up a barrier made out of just 4-foot regular, not chicken wire, but kind of like the heavy gauge wire you use for trellises and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I've turned that into my compost bin. So it's about 18 inches wide, and I've got 8-foot sections, and I just created this barrier around it. And on the front side of it, it's just covered with palmetto and things like that. So you have to really, literally try to get in there to run into the bees. And I've caught a couple of kids in the neighborhoods, and they weren't bothering them, but I stopped them and said, "Hey, don't go running through here because I've got bees." So I showed them the bees. Now they're all excited about beekeeping. So people appreciate what the bees do. They're relatively safe. I learned a lesson. I got too comfortable around them. I walked out around my hive in bare feet, and I got popped between the toes because there was a couple of bees on the ground. But it hurts like a fire ant. And the worst part to me is not the sting, but it's a couple days afterwards when you start itching. That's the worst part. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring you guys a drone tonight, which is a male bee. And they have no stinger. And the only thing they do is really breed and get run out of the hive in the wintertime. And because they really don't do any work. And because they're cool, but I couldn't find any. I couldn't find any today, but I literally was out there at about 3 o'clock this afternoon in this, my boonie cap, and a veil. People do wear the whole full body armor. People wear other things, but I mean, I use the hat in the yard anyway, so what I tried to do is minimize expense. So as a community garden, working with the church and stuff, I understand too, because I've experienced the same thing. Finances are key, and you want to be able to go in there and explain, hey, it's not going to cost an exorbitant amount of money to maintain these bees. So I'll just go over this quick expenses real quick. Yeah. And somebody asked me real quick where I would put bees here. People say if you ask 3 beekeepers an answer to a question, you get 5 different answers. Nobody knows which one's right, okay? But if it were me, because I don't like working in the sun when it's because I work my bees between about 10 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon because that's when most of the workers are out scavenging and looking for nectar and pollen and stuff. So when I open up a hive with 80,000 bees in it, 80% of them are gone. But I would put it along that tree line over there if your church members over there don't mind, and just partial shade, partial sun. And the partial sun is because it helps keep a lot of the pests away. There are 2 key ones here in the state of Florida that I know of. There's also mites, but I'm not sure how the sun affects them. But there's a moth that will invade the hive when it becomes weak, and there's a small hive beetle which will get in there and just utterly destroy your hive. And that's what I ran into when I moved that hive from the trash can because they were stressed. But if you were to go start a hive and you were to get going, I would say your bottom line cost would be about $500. Okay, and that'll get you what they call a full super or a brooder box like this. 10 frames which go inside. Frames look like this. Pass that around. It's got foundation on it, and if you feel, you can touch it. It's kind of sticky, and that's because it has beeswax on it.
So you recommend just one box for
Yeah.
this garden?
So yeah, one box for this garden like this, and then that's for what they call the brood box, and there's a half super that goes on top. So what you do, what I've done now with my bees, they have a box like this that's got a lid on it with a floor, and they're filling that up because they're only. This is a big box. I mean, this will hold probably 40,000 bees. Right?
Oh, wow.
I've got about 10 right now.
Wow.
So what I did, and what they'll do is you'll go in there, and I put 5 frames in like this, and I block one side off because you don't want to give beetles and stuff room to go in there and invade that area. So I block this off so the bees can't get through and the beetles can't. So this half of the hive is where the bees are. And as the hive grows, or the swarm grows, I'll just start adding frames. So I've got 5 frames in my box now. It'll go up to 10.
So, what would the maintenance be on our end for this hive?
So the hive, I go in about once every 10 days. It takes about not even an hour. And what I go in and look for is I look for the beetles. I just look for the health of the hive. You can go in there and kind of see where they're putting the brood or the eggs and the larvae and stuff like this. Just kind of gauge the general health of them. If they're kind of struggling a little bit, I'll feed them sugar water to kind of help support them. But other than that, I mean, to me, it's not really work. It's more fun. So, I mean, if you guys want to put a hive here, I'd be more than happy to help you guys with that and walk you through it, and maintain it. The state of Florida does require though that you get them licensed, and it's pretty expensive. It's $10 a year.
So you said we would have to. You go out there every 10 days. What are you doing out there? Like.
So I'm trying to. So this is called a nook. Okay, a nucleus. And if you were to buy a swarm, this is what they probably would come in. Okay.